Hey, Arrow.
I didn't expect to see you today because of the awards last night.
Oh, I was assigned to it. Yeah, well, thankfully the show ended. The show ended at 10 o'clock. I got the 10:52 train back to Long Island, and I got home a little after 11:30. So all's right with the world until I see my doctor later. Anyway, here's Serenity. You have 20 minutes. Go ahead.
Serenity, what we're talking about is that Michael was part of the iHeartRadio Music Awards last night. So I want to see you on there one day.
Yes.
She is, I mean, it's such a journey to get up onto something so spectacular. And I remember the days when there was no iHeartRadio. We all got together as a community and this thing came together. And now look how big it is.
Yes.
Wow. So where you are at 16 years old, first of all, are you in school this morning?
I'm supposed to be in school.
I love this. I mean, you being down there in Jupiter, Florida, I mean, you guys are playing some tough rules when it comes to schools down there.
Yes, it's definitely a little strict.
At 16, I remember that I had that dream of being a rock star, and I did have what they called a garage band. Do you play with that with a garage band, or what do you do so that you can exercise your vocals?
Unfortunately, I don't play any instruments, but like ever since I was little, I was starting with like humming, and then I got into doing like musical theater. And then now I'm kind of just doing like my own independent stuff. I sometimes go to like vocal lessons just to work on like technical stuff because it's been a critique that I've gotten. So I've been trying to work on that as much as possible. But I've been starting to like write my own music and go down that path and kind of like find myself as an artist in that way and like grow my vocals like more maturely.
When you go to your vocal lessons, I know as a voiceover actor, I go into this studio and they put on the earphones and they talk to you going, who is it that you're trying to reach? And you have to physically draw it out as to before you read. Is it the same thing with vocal lessons as well? Is that you have got to identify who is receiving your vocals?
I don't think I've ever gotten that yet. But when I do go in, it's mostly like vocal like strengthening stuff.
Yeah.
Just to like grow that part and like train like the muscles in my voice to like do bigger things and to grow as I get older.
Well, going from Florida to California, my God, that had to have interfered with some of your sinuses.
Yes, it definitely did. It's a lot drier in California, which I was not expecting at all. So that was definitely like a transition.
Being a vocalist, though, and you're also a dancer, it's all about story sharing. Do they ever come together as one?
I do think so. I think that's why I do singing and why I do dancing is because those are like the two arts for me that you can share your story without like actually saying it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like through what has aired on TV, I've reached a lot of people through that, and people have been saying that they can see that through my singing, which is my main goal. I try to like incorporate as much as like emotion as I can. Even in dancing, I try to do that for all of that because that's really how you're going to reach an audience and how you're going to like connect with people, which is what I've always wanted to do. And I'm really hoping that I'm reaching my goal with that one. But I do think that that's like a great form of like expressing yourself and like saying what you want to say without having to like actually say it verbally.
Well, I mean, look at what Pink is doing. Oh my God. I mean, you've got to bring the performance to sell the tickets.
Yes.
When you see a performer like Pink at the age of 16, what is that? How does that get digested in your imagination?
I think seeing those people that are like thriving at the same age as me, I think it's the coolest thing because a lot of them, they start with their parents. They start younger and they kind of build their career by themselves, which is what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to join something that's going to like push me up there immediately. I want to like build it on my own. I want it to be an independent artist, obviously keep my mom with me the whole time. But I think seeing people grow like that, people that are working on their craft and really like building that, I've seen that she's also done that. And she's done like the coolest things with her career. And her music has gotten really popular as well. And starting that young, is like a big inspiration for me because I'm also that young and I've also been trying to grow my career the same way.
Well, even Michael Jackson and Donny Osmond have always talked about the way that they didn't have a childhood. So how are you protecting your childhood?
I think being in the music industry in general, it can get a little sketchy and you need to have like the right people around you. And I've always been trying to maintain that. Like, I like to keep my circle small when it comes to that, like who's managing what. And I think keeping like my mom and my dad in that circle is like going to be what's best for me in the long run. I don't need like anybody who I'm not aware of, like controlling my career. And I think that's where a lot of people would go wrong with that. But I'm really young and I don't want to like be taken advantage of in any way. So I will keep my mom with me the whole time.
I'm so proud of you for saying that because, I mean, I got into radio when I was 14. And for all of those years, what happened is that I let them control me and what they needed me to do. So, and I would love to go back in time where I get to do what I want to do.
Yes. Very important.
Musical theater. My God, that was such a fear factor for me. I love to act. I love to get involved, but I couldn't take that step into that class.
It's definitely a big class to take. I think when I was younger, I was kind of a wild child. Like I was expressing myself in any way possible. And I think musical theater was like one of those classes where like you could really see like how I acted and like my personality through that. I was doing that when I was like 8, 10 years old, I think. And I started with that, went into vocal training. And then around that time is when I auditioned in season 21. And I think even Ariana Grande said in season 21 when I auditioned that she could tell that I did musical theater. And I do not regret taking those classes with that because I really think that grew me vocally and it like made me able to express myself more when I'm singing and it made me able to like communicate while singing because that's kind of what musical theater is all about. You're like performing, you're bringing that level of like quality to your performance and also like communicating through that. And it has to do a lot with acting. I never like fully got into acting, but I think because I did musical theater, it's made it so much easier for me to like
I mean, look at what's happened to Johnny Depp. I mean, he went to Hollywood to be a rock star and became an actor. I mean, you love music, but you'd also like to be the actor. It's almost like you and Johnny Depp have flip-flopped here.
I basically am Johnny Depp.
Was there a special place in your bedroom that you called your stage? And the reason why I bring that up is because in my bedroom there was a step up into my sister's room. That step in my room was a stage to me. That's where I wanted to be a rock star.
Yes, I actually have this long mirror in my room that like is like one of those body length ones, and I would say that that's probably my area. Because I can like see what I look like when I'm performing. I can like see everything. Sometimes I even will like choreograph stuff through the mirror. And I think that would definitely be my spot in my room.
You're not the only one who does that. I mean, I've talked with actors and comedians that do the same thing. They will sit there so they know how their body and what their facial expressions are. And I'll bet you even Taylor Swift looks at herself in the mirror performing because when she's looking at those cameras in concert, it's like, oh, she's done this before.
Mm-hmm.
So getting your driver's license, oh, that's a new set of freedoms there.
Yes, that was a big one. I was a little scared to get on the road because I wasn't sure how that was going to go. I think with driving, like you have to make a couple mistakes before you can actually say that like you're a licensed driver. And a lot of people were a little bit worried about me being on the road, but I think I'm pretty experienced now. I drive myself to work. I drive myself to school. I have a parking pass for school. I drive myself to do a couple of errands, but that was definitely a big one for me. I wasn't used to like having to take myself places and like actually get myself around, pay for gas.
The big one. But let me ask you a question about driving to school. I couldn't get a license until I was out of school because my brother, he drove to school and he also dropped out of school because he lost his focus. How are you finding your focus at that school with a driver's license?
Well, I started getting my own parking pass, so now I have like my own spot when I pull into school. And I think like driving myself to school has also been like a new motivation for me to go, because it's like a new independence that I have, that I'm like taking myself there. I'm leaving, like I'm in charge of that. I don't have anybody else telling me to get up for school or telling me to like go. Like I'm the one that's taking myself. So it's more of like a responsibility for me to get myself there. And I also think like staying organized and not getting too behind has kept me in track with school and everything else that I'm like involved with.
One of the things you need to do is that when we get back into winter at the end of this year, you need to drive to a state and learn how to drive in the snow.
Ooh. I don't know if I can do that.
It's scary. Oh, Serenity. Oh, my God. I'm from Montana, and I'm still scared to drive in the snow.
Give me a couple years for that one.
Being with Chance the Rapper, we're talking about one of the most down-to-earth, well, community-driven people on the planet. What are you learning from him?
He's been, again, like one of the coaches that I felt the most comfortable with. That's almost why I went for him. He was super nonchalant. And when I was in the room with him working on my battle, I think he really does attend to each artist and like the artist as a whole, which I noticed. And I really liked how he worked with us in terms of letting us add our own pieces to it and letting us show who we are as individuals. And when it comes to like performing, I think he's helped a lot, because I know he's like, he has his reasoning behind singing and rapping, which is more of like gospel, I believe.
Yeah.
And he has shown us not how to be like him, but to bring that out in artists themselves, like bring out why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And I think that's also why I have been making it far with him, because he's made it really easy to communicate concerns and like show why we want to be there.
Yeah. On social media today, I usually don't date myself, but I've never seen this before when it comes to NBC's The Voice. It's a best of show as we grow forward, and it's going to melt down to only one episode until May when you guys go live, and then we'll be back to 2 shows. How does that affect you as a performer? Is it a day off, or is it like, oh man, the pressure's off?
I don't think the pressure is ever going to be off. Or my day will be off. But it is a little bit relieving. But again, I think these are more of just like you go on like cruise control.
Yeah.
But I don't think the pressure will fully be off.
Wow. I mean, at 16 years old, most people are afraid of, oh my God, next year I'm going to graduate from high school. Oh my God, I've got to get my grades up. And you're on this huge stage. Is graduation, I mean, is it scary right now, or is it, I got this?
It's definitely scary. I think I'm having a lot of those like, oh my gosh moments right now, because I'm like, oh my God, I'm on national television. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to like get my stuff together to graduate. Oh my God, I need to pay for this. And like, there's a lot of things that are in my head right now, but I try to write everything down. I try to keep myself in track, but I believe I'm on a good track right now. I've gotten a lot of help from my school too, with like working on like schedules and making sure that I have everything I need, so I don't really have to worry about graduation. So by the time I get there, it'll be like smooth sailing for that. Yeah. So I'm gonna rely on them. Rely on them.
That's the part of the school story that we don't get to hear, how teachers and principals will work with the students. Because Amy, I love to write. And so in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, they sat down with me and gave me room to write my first book. And that's the thing about it. They sat down with me and said, stay in school. Please stay in school. We'll work with you. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's working for you as well.
Yes, I was even allowed to like sit down with my guidance counselor and go through every class that I'm taking this year, what requirements I need for next year, how I'm going to get there, what I'm going to do to get there, like what I need to improve on, and like my whole schedule for next year. Therefore, I'm like set up to get into like the university that I want, to go to college, to graduate, and to like have a good look on everything. Yeah. And I think the school's really helped me with that, because obviously like doing everything that I'm doing, it's really stressful. And that's like not something that I think students can do on their own, like figure out their life.
Yep. In a really weird way, are you hoping that they ask you to sing at a homecoming or a prom?
I don't know. I feel like if they were, I would probably say yes.
Yeah.
But that's definitely scary. I actually would rather prefer being in front of celebrities than my whole school because I like know all of them.
Exactly.
And that would be a little bit nerve-wracking. I might like actually get nervous for that one.
Oh my God! Because I was with Tommy DiCarlo when he performed. He's now the new lead vocalist for the group Boston, and he came home to sing here in Charlotte. He was so nervous to be in front of us here in Charlotte because we all know him as Tommy.
Yes. I've always had a thing like if I would rather be in front of like thousands of people singing than be in front of like a small group of people I know. I don't know why it's like that, but I always get so much more nervous. Like even speaking in front of a big group of people that like I know, I think it's more nerve-wracking because you know each one of them, they know you personally. And being in front of a bunch of strangers is like so different. You can kind of like tune them out because you don't even know who they are.
Wow. At 16, what have you learned this time around with NBC's The Voice compared to the first time?
It's been so different. When I first went season 21, it was also during COVID and there were so many restrictions. I feel like the experience was kind of limited because of that. And you didn't really like get to do everything because there were so many like health restrictions around it. And then I also didn't really make it that far in the competition that time around. So getting like basically like 3 years off and coming back, now we're not in COVID. So I actually got to like talk to the people that were there. I actually got to do full hair, makeup, like wardrobe and like live in the experience and actually like be a part of it. I think that's been like the coolest thing. I actually get to like be around all these musicians from around the world. I get to like be in the same room as like the staff and like not be restricted in that. And I definitely think this time has been different because I feel like I've found myself as an artist more. I feel like I've grown more maturely, like in the type of genre I want to be in. And like, I know myself more to where I feel a little bit more comfortable doing all of this. So, yeah.
You know what's so interesting with you talking about that during the COVID days is I was blessed with the opportunity to share conversations with those that were on The Voice back in those days. And the thing is, though, is that as an interviewer, they went through an introvert kind of a stage. It was very difficult to have a conversation because we were all at home in this box. And I swear to you, this season has to be the best season because everybody has a story now. It's almost like you guys have learned how to re-communicate with those that are asking questions.
Yes, it was so weird, like being in COVID and then also like being a singer because you're constantly like projecting onto people, if it makes sense. And in COVID, it's like you're not allowed to do that at all. So it was kind of like a back and forth thing. Like you have to stay away from people. You have to isolate yourself.
Yep.
Again, we were also in a hotel. So it's kind of like you stay in your room and you don't leave. So it was like the coolest thing to be a part of that experience, but looking at my experience compared to that one now, it's so different. Like everything that I'm getting to experience along with it is so different.
Serenity, when you win NBC's The Voice, you're going to have to write a book and go through that experience because we're now 4 years beyond that and it's going to be lost forever. And we know that it affected the art world because musicians have talked about it over and over and over again about how they became stronger with their artwork. And so have you.
Yes, maybe I will write a book about it because it definitely impacted the music world. I remember when I was in chorus in middle school, and that was around the same time that I first auditioned. We all had to like stand like away from each other. We had to like wear masks. We sounded really bad because we were all isolated and wearing masks, and like nobody really came to the performances. Everybody was kind of like staying to themselves. Like you really couldn't grow like under those circumstances. It was hard to like train and like get that training from people and get that feedback when you can only see them for like 10 minutes.
Oh my God. I just can't imagine. I know what I went through, so I can't imagine what you went through, because I mean, but the thing is though, is that you can teach the world how to walk through walls, because that's exactly what you did. You stayed true to your vocals.
Yes.
Oh.
It's been a journey. When I was 14 and I did that the first time around, I thought it was like the biggest thing. I thought that I have experienced so much, which I did. But now doing this and getting past the blinds and not being in COVID, I realized that there was like so much more to experience.
Yeah.
Like there were so many things that I haven't done yet. And it's very different.
Where can people go to find out more about you and share their love with you?
On my Instagram and my TikTok, which is serenity.arce, I am constantly posting the like new rounds and like everything that's really going on with the show. And I'm posting like updates and really like showing my story. And you can see like what I do with dancing and all of that. That'll all be on my social medias.
Wow. Please come back to the show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you, Serenity.
Yes, thank you so much.
Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
I'll try to be.